Look at Dubai today. Artificial islands, luxury towers, the tallest building on Earth. But go back a few decades, and that entire metropolis vanishes. In 1980, this was a modest settlement. Roughly 280,000 people relied almost entirely on local trades, like fishing and pearl diving, to get by. Some oil revenue existed, but as this chart shows, Dubai's geological reserves were tiny compared to neighbors like Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia. Leaders realized their oil wealth would dry up quickly. The city faced an inescapable deadline. To survive without that natural resource, they had to invent a completely new economy. They needed to engineer a reason for the rest of the world to bring its money to the desert. The strategy started with their remaining oil cash. Instead of using it to heavily subsidize local living costs, leadership aggressively funneled that money outward into massive international infrastructure. Small local ports were expanded. Modest regional airstrips were scaled up into enormous international hubs, designed specifically to capture the world's most lucrative global transit routes. Next, they established free economic zones. These are deregulated geographic areas where foreign companies are allowed full ownership of their businesses while paying extremely low taxes. By removing the financial friction usually associated with cross-border operations, wealthy investors and multinational corporations began relocating their capital to the Gulf by the billions. Combine a frictionless global transit system with an aggressive tax haven, and you get a highly efficient international business machine. But capital alone doesn't build a megacity. You need attention. So Dubai started treating its architecture like a global marketing campaign. They stopped building just for capacity and started building for headlines. They reshaped the geography of the coast, dredging millions of tons of sand and rock to create sprawling, artificial islands packed with luxury real estate. They chased world records at an impossible speed, culminating in the Burj Khalifa, a tower rising over half a mile into the sky, cementing its status as the tallest structure ever built. With every engineering feat, the city locked in a specific brand identity. Dubai became synonymous with extreme wealth, mega resorts, and supercars. These projects generated endless viral press. They weaponized awe, creating a spectacle so massive that it actively drew in the billions of foreign dollars required to fund its own construction. But if you look past the pristine glass and travel down to the base of those towers, the mechanics of how a city rises this fast become clear. The entire physical structure of the city was assembled by millions of largely invisible migrant workers, traveling thousands of miles from places like South Asia and the Philippines to find employment. To maintain the pace of construction, these laborers regularly worked extreme hours while exposed to brutal, highly dangerous desert temperatures. Human rights organizations have documented severe systemic abuses. Workers frequently face crammed housing, exploitative debt traps, and employers confiscating their passports to restrict their movement. The math of this hyper-modern boom requires cheap labor. All that futuristic luxury relies directly on the exploitation of a highly restricted underclass. And forcing a sprawling, highly air-conditioned metropolis into one of the harshest climates on Earth carries an enormous ecological price tag. Dredging for artificial islands heavily disrupted local marine ecosystems. Meanwhile, keeping the city hydrated and cooled requires massive, energy-intensive water desalination plants running constantly. In 2008, the global financial crisis hit, and this fragile, debt-fueled expansion suddenly hit a wall. Cranes froze, and megaprojects sat abandoned in the sand. The entire dream nearly collapsed. To avoid total ruin, Dubai had to secure a massive financial bailout from its oil-rich neighbor, Abu Dhabi. The crash laid bare a simple reality. You can build a city on brilliant PR and cheap debt, but eventually you have to face the limits of basic economics and ecological gravity. Yet, Dubai survived. Through extensive restructuring, the city evolved into a surprisingly stable global hub, heavily integrated into modern tech, AI, and international finance. For many, this city proves that sheer willpower works. It shows that visionary ambition can take a barren landscape and rewrite a nation's destiny in just one generation. For others, it stands as a massive, glittering warning sign. a stark monument to the severe human and environmental pressures demanded by extreme, unchecked growth. Dubai succeeded in manufacturing the city of the future, but in doing so, it proved that our visions of tomorrow are still built on the exact same compromises of the past.